August 19th, AEW Dynamite just went off the air, and it was a lot more fun than I figured it was going to be because we're still ramping up for the pay-per-view. We had a lot of people talking, and we had several really good matches. So, run it. We opened the night up with Ospreay, Kira, and Hanari taking on Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and Brian Cage. It was a really good match, all things considered. Everybody did exactly what they needed to do. We got to see all the highlights. We got to see all the classics. Lance Archer is still some kind of crazy monster. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And that's just how it is. So we did get to see Ospreay and his team take the victory. I do want to shout out to Akira. He is still a crazy little bastard. He decided to try and go up against Lance Archer once, or twice probably. And the height difference alone was ridiculous, let alone the just general size and strength differences. So, good match overall. Then we got back-to-back promos. We started off with Okada in the back. He's just talking shit about Takeshita. Gave a little bit of a shout-out to his buddy Fletcher. Then we got Fletcher out in the ring doing a promo on the mic in front of everybody. And Takeshita made an appearance. They got into a little bit of a back-and-forth brawl. It was very good. I mean, it's just setting up for the pay-per-view, so we're just going to have to wait the 11 days until everything settles and we get everything live from London. Then we rolled that into a very interesting, very serious sit-down interview, conversation, discussion thing between Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. And it got heated real fast, and there was nothing that was going to stop that. If you have time, go find the video clip of it. It's intense, to say the least. Then we finally got to match 2 of the night, which saw a fatal 4-way for the TBS title. So we had Sheeta, Persephone, Statlander, and Maya World all going one-on-one on one-on-one. And that held my attention for quite a while. There were a couple of weird spots. I think they tried to cover most of that during a commercial break, but it did slow for a second and then it picked right back up. We did get to see Maya World retain her title, so congratulations to her. We followed that up with a quick Brawling Birds promo. They're basically just saying, we're going to All In, we're going to get those titles. Nothing too extreme there. And that rolled immediately into Jay White versus Jon Moxley for the next round of the Continental Cup tournament thing that they're running right now. Moxley did end up with the victory, which I am not surprised at, but at the same time, it would have been nice to see Jay White go a little bit further with everything. After the match, the Dogs attacked. The conglomeration came out to help and try and save Jay White. Then Gabe Kidd made his return. So that was really interesting. He kind of cleared house a little bit. And then Brodito and Hangman Page came out. They leveled the playing field with everybody. Hangman grabbed a mic and was essentially like, we're still the Trios champions. We're going to hang on to these titles for quite a while. If anybody wants some, we'll see you at All in London. Just show up as a trio and we'll put the titles on the line. That's setting something up. A lot of people are saying it's probably going to be the New Day, although they're probably not going to go by the New Day anymore. So it could be Swerve and the New Day showing up to be a trio, and that would be super interesting, and I'm sure everybody would pop super loud for that. We're just going to have to see what happens with it, though. Then we went backstage again, and Maya World cut a quick little promo. Willow came out and was like, hey, remember I made you a promise that I would put my title up on the line pretty soon against you, so let's do that next week. I actually think that that's going to go down Saturday. Don't quote me on that. But there's no chance that Willow's going to lose the title before she goes on to take on Monet at the pay-per-view. So that'll be a fun little match, but we can all figure out the outcome at this point. Then we got something kind of weird. Jonathan Cruz popped back up, and he essentially called out Andrade and was like, too bad he's not here. So, I don't have to worry about it, but I could definitely beat him. To which Andrade's music hit, and he came rushing down, and it was a super squish match. I mean, I think from bell to bell, it was probably 45 seconds. So that was a thing. Then Andrade grabbed a mic, and he started talking some shit, and he called out MJF, and then there was a little bit of a technical error because they started playing the audio feed for the prepackaged video of MJF in his pool in his backyard before it was time. but they managed to get it up real quick, and then they played the video about a minute later, and it was very interesting to see MJF just be like, I'm the true champ, you're going to go down. I don't really care about any of this. I decided to stay home this week. Ha 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 ha. I'm better than you. So that was that. Then we had another interview backstage where Renee Paquette was in the center. We had Willow on the left in one room, and we had Monet on the right of the screen in another room. And they were just having this weird conversation back and forth from different rooms. It just broke down way too fast. Both women ended up rushing out toward the ringside area. They got into a big brawl. Everybody just kind of was like, how did this even happen? Like, I can't believe that this was a thing right now. It's all just setting up for the pay-per-view. This is where Swerve popped up backstage with Prince Nana, and he was like, oh, any trio can come after the titles, Hangman? Any trio? And that's kind of why people are like, New Day and Swerve would be very interesting. So we'll see what happens in 11 days. And then Nigel McGuinness came out, and his ankle is all taped up. He got some kind of injury from last week when he had his match for the Continental Cup tournament. It was not looking good on his part. He limped all the way down to the ring, and he was taking on Hechicero, who loves to pick apart body parts. So that was a very good match. I don't know what else to say besides I'm surprised that Nigel won, but he choked out Hechicero after about 10 minutes, about a 10-minute match. And it was really good storytelling. Can't believe that that's how everything ended with it. But Nigel is moving on, and hopefully his injury is not any worse because Hechicero was really trying to pick it apart. Then we got even more weirdness because Kevin Knight came out to do an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone. He snatched the mic from Schiavone real quick. It was this whole thing. He called out Darby. Darby came out and was at the top of the entry ramp. And Kevin Knight was like, I'm not going to let you get close to the ring right now because I don't need any exploding backpacks or whatever. So I want to make sure you don't have any weapons on you, like a flamethrower. So he was like, security, you guys go check him. And Darby was just like, nah, like no need for that. And he like opened up his coat and he did a little spin. It showed that he didn't have anything on him. And then he was standing there and somebody mistimed this by about 7 seconds. But then all of the pyro went off at the same time while Darby was standing there. And that's Darby. After being totally just normal hanging out dude, he just got pelted with all of that. Kevin Knight got out of the ring, took the TNT title with him, smashed Darby in the face, rolled him into the ring, hung him up in the Tree of Woe, grabbed a chair, put it right up against his face, and hit it coast to coast. So it's just... This whole match between Darby and Knight is going to be one of the most spectacularly ridiculous things I think we will have seen out of both men in a little bit. So can't wait for that for the pay-per-view. And then they carted Darby off on a stretcher and hit commercial break. And then we came to the main event. And oh boy, was that interesting. We got to see Davis Doyle and my boy El Clone taking on the Elite. And by the Elite, I mean the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And it was a lot. First and foremost, the Elite had El Clone just siphoned off on their half of the ring for quite a while. Everybody was tagging in and out. There was a whole lot of tag team action going on between the Bucks. They even got Omega involved in a couple of little things. But finally, Clone was able to put up a little bit of a fight and start tagging. And then it was just on. Everybody was going after it. Everybody was fighting everybody else. We ended up, obviously, with the victors being the Elite. No surprise there. It's what happened after that. The Don Callis family came out, and the Don Callis family started to wreak havoc on the Elite. And then they got the upper hand back a little bit with some help. And then Will Ospreay came running down and looked like he was saving Kenny Omega from, some real bad stuff. The two of them got into a little bit of a verbal argument. Ospreay got out of the ring, started going back up the entry ramp with a couple security guards. He had a microphone. Omega had a microphone. Omega managed to get up while he was still injured, quotey fingers, in the ring. And Ospreay was just like, nah, dog, fuck it. And he spun around and he ran back to the ring and he got into a real big just scrap with Omega right then and there in the middle of the ring. Somebody had set up a table during the match. I don't remember who, but Omega pulled Ospreay out onto the apron, talked a little bit more shit, and then just plummeted Ospreay through that table in front of the commentary desk. So this was all like right there. And that's where the show ended. So everything that's happening between Ospreay and Omega is amazing, and I'm excited for it, and I can't wait for the pay-per-view. I still think they're going to give Ospreay the win, although at the last second they might pull a little bit of a sneaky peek and make it so that Omega keeps the title, just so that the streak of no British-born wrestlers get a title on British soil, which would suck, kind of, because it would be nice to, like, you know, make history with that, but at the same time, like, just to progress the storyline, it would make sense if they did that. So, I will see you guys Saturday. Everything is boiling down to be a really good pay-per-view. If anybody's interested, I'll live stream it. Just leave a comment down below. But take care of yourselves. Drink lots of water. And I will see you this weekend. Peace.